Joining na. Starting.
All right, and ladies and gentlemen, we would like to welcome you all to our Untitled Chapter. All right, and we are right here where we are in the Zoom platform, and this is courtesy of the Philippine Franchise Association. And this was conceptualized to make sure that everybody will have the opportunity not only to learn from each other, but also to share what they're doing in this crisis brought about by the COVID-19. And to welcome us all, I'd like to present our chairman, Mr. Rich Sanz, for a welcome message. Rich, please take it away.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Doc Carl, good afternoon. I hope you're all healthy and safe in your own homes. So, I just want to thank you for everyone for joining PFA's first ever e-kapihan. And of course, when we thought about this last week, the team knew that we only had 1 week to prepare from finding the speakers and setting up the platform. That's why I sincerely want to thank all our resource speaker, Jerome, Carol, and of course our PFA president, Cheryl. And last but not the least, our celebrity moderator, Dr. Carl, whom we are all very lucky to be with us. I would also like to thank, as Doc Carl said earlier, that we have the secretariat working from home behind the scenes. So thank you to Chit, Jake, Joanne, Ivy, and the whole secretariat. So I've been saying this the past weeks, past 2 weeks over and over again. This crisis will really change the world permanently. The world will never be the same. So the franchise companies will be able to pivot early, will be the ones to survive this crisis and thrive after the crisis is over. This virus, which, as you see, kept us contained in our homes when I hope maybe not more than 1 month, not more than 2 months, but it's already reorienting our relationships to the government, to the outside world, and even to each other. So some changes that we expect to see in the upcoming months or years might really feel unfamiliar or unsettling. So like, will countries, will they stay close to each other? Will touch become taboo? The ones that we do na fist bump or elbows, will it stay? What will become of our restaurants? Are we gonna see less in dine-in concepts? Are we gonna have more takeout? Are we gonna have more online deliveries? So what I'm trying to say here is crisis moments also present opportunity. So more sophisticated and flexible use of technology, a revive, you see, being contained in our homes. We are now suddenly appreciative of outdoors and life, other simple pleasures. So with this discussion, I hope everyone will learn new insights on how to lead our companies, our families, and even our friends on how to navigate through this crisis. So I wish you all the best. Stay healthy and safe, everyone.
All right. Thank you very much, Rich. And there is an emphasis on the world. I love that. I love hearing that we're not only dealing with this crisis as a family, as individuals, even as a country, but as a world. And as of date, before we bring in the first speaker, as of March 24, there are already 552 total cases in the Philippines. That's 552. And these are official records from the, the Department of Health. And 322 of which, or nearly 60%, were reported in the past 4 days. I repeat that. There are already 552 total cases in the Philippines, and 322 of those are, or nearly 60% of that total, were reported in the last 4 days. And in total, there are 28 of the 35 patients who died were male. And 80%, that's 4 out of 5 who died. In addition, 25 of 35 patients who died were senior citizens. So these are just some updates that I would like to give you. And of course, the first person who would give us a prospect of this. By the way, if I may just share this material that we have prepared for you just to contextualize our discussion, we would like to present this framework. We will start with the bottom, the current context. And on the left side, there will be logistics and people management discussion. On the right side is the process or the inventory discussion. Towards the cash flow, that certainly is disrupted at this point. And this leads us to the greater purpose. And we have assigned a speaker to focus on each of the areas, 4 major areas: the current context, the logistics and people management, the inventory and process management relative to the cash flow, and the greater purpose. While they will be presenting their holistic perspective of the situation from where they're coming from as they're introduced from their companies, they will be zeroing in one part of that framework. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present to you our first resource person. Our resource person is Jerome Andrew Garcia. He has over 20 years of experience in the areas of financial advisory, corporate finance, strategy support, mergers and acquisition, and investment banking across different countries, such as different industries, such as retail, consumer markets, real estate, and financial services. He also has 8 years of experience in the retail industry. Prior to joining KPMG, Jerome was the Chief Operating Officer of Technomarine Enterprise Philippines and Technotime Limited in Singapore, a wholesaler and retailer of watches and jewelry. He was also previously connected with several investment banks, financial institutions such as AIB, DCI, and Trust Company, and UBP Financial Corporation. He's currently also the Emerging Business Sector Head of KPMG in the Philippines, which focuses on family businesses and fast-growing companies. Jerome has a bachelor's degree in management economics from Ateneo de Manila University, and he's a chartered values and appraiser under the Institute of Valuer and Appraisers in Singapore. Please take it away, Jerome. You now have the spotlight.
Carl. Yep. Dr. Carl, thank you very much, PFA members. It's a pleasure to be here, hopefully under better circumstances. So I have a few slides, and I hope they can put the slides up. They will. Okay, so I've been asked by the PFA to help build the context of the discussions. So next slide, please. So I just have very few slides, but what I wanted to share is that these 10 slides that I'll be sharing with you are really to give you a sense of what's going on in the market and how COVID-19 has affected the Philippine economy, its higher impact on some of our neighbors and throughout the world. And then within KPMG, there's an ongoing discussion about what some of the critical business areas need to be discussed. So I'll share that with you, and then leave you with some key points to consider to help facilitate the discussions. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so just very quickly, and this is kind of the numbers that Dr. Carl was mentioning, but from a global perspective, COVID-19 has been devastating. As of March 24, there are more than 384,000 cases worldwide, with 102,400 recovered, and 16,600 people unfortunately have passed away. Now, if you compare how the Philippines is doing relative to other countries, we have a relatively lower amount of confirmed cases. However, as Dr. Carl mentioned earlier, there's been an acceleration of those number of cases in the last few days. So but certainly we're nowhere near, and we hope not to be anywhere near China, Italy, and the US in terms of their numbers. So what has the government done? The government has put us all under enhanced community quarantine to limit movement of people around. They've also put in place a spending plan, essentially to try and help support those industries that are hardest hit by this pandemic, as well as to try and cushion the social economic impact. Likewise, in support of that endeavor, the BSP has reduced interest rates by 0.5% to keep liquidity in the marketplace. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so we wanted to show you how COVID-19 has affected economies globally. And as a proxy for that, we've used the stock market of various countries. So if you look at essentially, if you look at how different markets have performed worldwide, the US, Italy, and China, those that are most affected, have seen a decline in their stock prices by 36.9, 33.8, and 12.8 respectively, with the US having the hardest hit and China having the softer, despite COVID-19 having originated from them. In the Philippines, our stock market has been hit very hard. Just as a background, the index was supposed to have, prior to COVID-19, was supposed to have hit 9,000 when we were looking at GDP growth of about 6.5 to 7.5%. So this is from the PSE index, which closed at 7,815 at the end of 2019. Unfortunately, there were a number of events that happened, and of course, the most impactful was the COVID-19 situation. And consequently, by the time the president had declared a public health emergency in March 8th, the index is already down to 6.3 and has actually reached, as of March 19, a low of 4,623. I've looked at, so that's about a 39% decrease in the value, and that's billions of pesos in market cap per company. Of course, hardest hit are some of our largest conglomerates. Today, the market is doing a little bit better, but we're still trading in the high 4,000 to 5,000 level. Okay. So next slide, please. So one thing is, as a result of the way the markets have been behaving and the way the economies have been slowing down, our rating agencies, S&P Global Ratings and Fitch actually ratings reduced our GDP forecast to 4 to 4.2%. Now, this is particularly interesting when you compare this to how the government is forecasting GDP. So from left to right, that shows you how the government was looking at the GDP growth, as I mentioned earlier, 6.5 to 7.5 before pre-corona, before coronavirus. And then when it first hit, the NEDA adjusted its forecast by 1%, so from down 5.5 to 6.5. And the last statement from Director General Perinya was that it would go down to 4.3. And in fact, unfortunately, recent statements have been it could go as low as negative 0.6 to 4.3, and that just illustrates how difficult it is to understand the implications of COVID-19. How long it will last, how far we stray away from that 4.3 forecast will depend entirely on how quickly we can defeat the virus and get back to business as usual, which I'm sure everybody's would like to do. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this is what I was mentioning earlier. Essentially, in KPMG, we've been reaching out to our clients, and there are a number of areas and questions that we're asking around these areas that will help businesses cope better with COVID-19. So these are ranging from strategy, liquidity and financing, the workforce, supply chain, business continuity, and tax. And so I'll cover each one of them very briefly. So next slide, please. Okay, so when we talk about business strategy, essentially everybody's business model is now under review. There are certainly, we talk about restrictions in the channel of sales. For PFA members, concern is, the stores, you're not able to operate your stores. So this restricts one of your core channels of revenue. And of course, since you don't have those channels anymore available to you at this point in time, then that limits the visibility of your product in the marketplace. We're also seeing one of the questions or one of the concerns is shifting around consumer spending, how that's changing in this environment, that we're going from, all kinds of goods to basic necessities. So not just what is being purchased, but also the manner in which it's being purchased. Many retailers were looking at online sales as a major component to the channels, to their total channels. And now this COVID-19 has basically accelerated the need to be able to do more e-commerce. And of course, since the business model itself is being reviewed, there's a slowdown in terms of how you would be executing expansion plans and whether resources for these expansion plans should not be rethought and allocated to something else where it will boost channel sales. Okay. Also along the lines of liquidity and financing, so the ability to finance working capital needs. This COVID-19 has created instability in terms of cash flow for many businesses. And not just in the Philippines, across the world. As I mentioned, this is more of a global questioning. So, the problem is the cash flow coming in has weakened, but the cash flow going out has remained the same, or in some cases has even increased. Now, that liquidity has given that or lack of liquidity has given potential breach of financial covenants for those business owners who have loans with the banks. There may be certain financial ratios or certain levels of liquidity that you've promised to maintain, hold out deposit. So that's in danger. If you don't have the right amount of liquidity, then the loan could be called. Now, the other thing is, in this environment, you need to look at your sources of additional funding. Although the banks are ready and willing to lend, there's also going to be a lot of demand for funds when this is done. And if you need to know where you're going to get your funding, and if it's a non-traditional source of funding, let's say it's not loans, but let's say capital, you would take a private equity fund, then that could be costly. So the management of costs related to new funding initiatives haven't been factored in and certainly need to be thought about. Next slide, please. Okay, so workforce, and I think this is very critical. Although there are a lot of discussions around reduction in the size of labor force, this also might be one of the areas where more creativity is required, repurposing the workforce. Those are some of the discussions that need to be undertaken. There's obviously a concern about reduction in employee productivity because people are learning to do new things as we are here holding a meeting in this manner. So your employees are having to try and do things new, and there will be a drop in productivity for a while as they adjust. And this also has an increase in absenteeism, primarily because they're not, they may not be as available. There are things that they're like in the lockdown, they become less available to do the work. And then for those of you that have branches or outside of the country, there are issues, and even regionally, there are issues around mobility, being able to move people around to operate branches or other offices that you may have in other countries or other regions. Okay. Then later, what we discuss more supply chain, and again, we're looking at this more on a global perspective. It's a decline in agricultural production. So I think in the Philippines, that's pretty much agricultural production has been weak and has been hit by many natural calamities. So that's the challenge. That's a challenge on top of COVID-19, low production, and then being able to trade that across different countries and different regions in the Philippines becomes more difficult. China has become essentially the factory of the world, and it had a lot of impact on companies who could no longer source product that they were buying before when China shut down. Okay, now in terms of increasing transport costs and lead time, certainly this is becoming, moving things around is becoming more costly, and lead time is taking longer. I mean, for those of you that have tried to get groceries around, it's quite challenging, and it's costing more because there's more fees. So capacity restriction of suppliers and transport providers, so there's less people to do that kind of work. So you might have to allot more time to move things within your supply chain. So next slide. Okay, business continuity. It's very important to have a business continuity plan in place. Obviously, this is there are risks to your profitability because of disruptions of your business. You have higher costs and then lower level of sales, so your profitability is certainly threatened. Availability of resources continues to run the business remotely. So many people are not yet ready to run their business from their homes. And that's something that needs to be discussed, and you have to understand the attendant cost to that. Then even delegation of authority and leadership continuity plans. The leaders in your companies may not be available to make decisions, unlike when you were in one office where it was much easier to simply just get a response. So overall, for business continuity, if you don't have a plan in place, this is a very good opportunity now to document the challenges you're facing so that you're better prepared for future challenges. And the last one is tax implications of refinancing activities. Obviously, despite all the BIR has done and the government authorities in terms of trying to make tax filings and tax payments more flexible given the current environment, there's still some challenges. And then for those of you that source goods and from another office from overseas, transfer pricing is also going to be impacted. So my last slide is just the key points to consider for the discussions, which is really realignment of business strategy. As I said, it's kind of time to reassess your business and think out of the box. Constant monitoring and evaluation of liquidity levels in this very difficult time. Cash flow is the lifeblood of the business, so you need to keep that running. Espouse a nimble workforce. So certainly they have to be ready to try new things, and look at. You need to maintain strong communication lines with them. And lastly is just to have a strong business continuity plan. So that's it that's my last slide. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Jerome. Thank you. So, wow. So what an opening lecture. I was taking down notes myself, and I would suggest that those who are participating in this conference, please, if I may suggest, can you wait for a while? Can you please message your question in the Q&A box, which you can find at the lower portion of your screen? You know why? Because if you chat us directly, it might just go to our individual accounts, and that might be a little more difficult. So thank you very much for that. And this time we would like to bring in the youngest of us all in this panel. Please welcome. Ronel is the founder and CEO of Faron Cafe, which is currently one of the most successful, having 240 branches nationwide since it opened in 2010. I had a very privileged chance to have interviewed them while they were still small through the courtesy of Mambing Limhoko. And I think their first guesting in media is in my show. He graduated with BSBA major in financial management from the University of the East Caloocan. He took master's in business administration, where he earned units from the University of the East in Manila. He's a certified franchise executive, graduate of the mini master in franchise management of the Institute of Certified Franchise Executive in the United States. And he's currently taking up his master's in entrepreneurship at the Asian Institute of Management. Ladies and gentlemen, the CEO of Faron Cafe, Ronel Ombre. Go ahead, please.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me here. Doc Carl, Michelle, Sir Rich, PFA Secretariat, thank you. And as assigned to me, I just want to focus on logistics, the importance of just in time. Uh, uh, we're operating majority in malls nationwide. So 95% of our stores are closed right now. So there's no operation for us, and there's a lot of supplies pending in our stores. So I just want to focus on just in time, the importance of just in time. So if you are in the business of non-essentials like clothing, uh, I can say a food kiosk or food court in malls, you're in a restaurant, you need to practice just in time. Oh, but not in health and security businesses. By the way, what is just in time? I just want to share it with you. It's a process of lowering your inventory, increasing your efficiency, and decreasing waste. So why do you need just in time? Uh, you just make what is needed, and only when it is needed, and only in the amount that is needed to produce. So right in our experience right now, we have millions of spoilage in our warehouse right now because of sudden lockdown with the malls, with SM, Ayala's, Robinsons, especially in our provincial stores. So what makes us difficult is the logistics of our stores. It's very difficult to move our people, our supplies, our inventories to our commissary, from stores to our commissary, because transportations are limited, manpowers are limited. So uh, it's very difficult for us to move. So here, uh, as an entrepreneur, I want to say to everybody that we need to get back to our business faster. So we can create jobs faster. People need us. People want us to open our business as soon as possible. So, well, with the crisis we were experiencing, we need to stick with our mission, with our vision and our purpose, and not just only on our business model, because business model changes. From time to time, you can change your business model, but when you stick on your mission, when you stick on your purpose, on your goal, uh, well, you can go beyond this crisis right now. So I want to say is you must always create value and significance to your people and to other businesses as well. Doc Carl?
Go ahead. Please continue, Ronel. Yeah, you were saying we want to learn more about what you are doing specifically, lalo na sa business mo. Can you cite your specific case, for example? How are you doing it?
Yeah, in our specific case, since last year we're practicing just in time. Pero sobrang hirap, especially in our provincial stores. We cannot produce what is only needed because of the mode of transportation, the time involved. So hindi talaga naiwasan yung mga spoilage namin ngayon. But nahirapan kami na i-pull out yung mga supplies, yung mga equipment. So walang nangyari dun sa just in time namin. Pero the thing is, kung hindi namin practice yung just in time na ng maayos or ng tama, mas malaki pa yung magiging losses namin.
Okay. So the just in time is a mitigating strategy. No? It's something
Yes.
it's something that helped you at least mitigate it. All right. So anything else, Ronel, before I bring in the next resource person?
Okay, you need to to use technology
Okay.
properly or as a part of MSME. We need to look for other channels wherein we can maximize our exposure, our process by using technology. So on our part, dun sa mga stores namin, we have some inventories na bibigay kaagad sa amin on time. So we can na-adjust namin yung mga dapat namin gawin, mga dapat naming supplyan lang. So technology is playing a great role in our businesses.
Very good. Very nice. Well said. Well said. Very ganda. You know, the advantage and the beauty of this activity, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that we have panelists who are practitioners themselves, who have their own stories to share. And I think this is the reason why all of us, including our participants, have become experts in our own little rights, because we're in the same situation. And probably later on, we can create some sort of a model and identify some very tangible takeaways, okay, from each of these presentations being made today. We would like to remind everyone, please don't post your question in the chat box. Rather, post it in the Q&A, which is in the lower portion of your screen. You know why? Because currently we have 15 questions already that we would like to answer later on after our last panelist. And there are some questions, however, being directed specifically to all panelists in the chat box, which we may not be able to accommodate because there are plenty. So if you want to just socialize with us, use the chat box. But if you want your questions answered or some suggestions or remarks noted and considered, please put it in the Q&A box. Okay, the next resource person that we will bring on the spotlight to present to you what they're doing is the AVP for Commissary Operations of Leslie Corporation Food Service Division. She graduated from my alma mater, the University of Santo Tomas, with a degree in a BS Chemical Engineering, and she's a licensed chemical engineer. She has been with Leslie Corporation Food Service Division for almost 12 years. Her career in food manufacturing began in 2009. She currently handles 3 commissaries, Parañaque, Pampanga, and Davao, and all satellite depot serving about, listen to this, 600 Minute Burger stores nationwide. Wata. All right, please welcome Carolina or Carol Tamoro Ona. Take it away, please.
Good afternoon, Dr. Carl. Good afternoon to the panelists and all the participants. I was tasked to discuss how are we coping with COVID-19. As a food service company, it is essential for us to remain operational amid the current situation. It's important that during times like this, basic necessities such as food, utilities, and other goods are available for everyone. But of course, unlike normal circumstances, there are many challenges, especially inventory and process management. Challenges that make it more difficult for us to provide for our customers, which in turn call us to adapt and come up with solutions. There's the challenge of getting people to come to work, complying with the LGU ordinances, managing deliveries, and ensuring raw materials availability. Since public transportation has been discontinued and only a handful of our employees live near the plant, many of our personnel are unable to come to work. Then there's also fear of health and safety. Apart from the fear of acquiring virus, getting through checkpoints is also a stressful ordeal for our personnel. We also have stores in different cities in and outside of Metro Manila, which means that we are subject to different LGU ordinances and requirements. This makes managing product deliveries and raw materials more difficult and challenging. We address these issues by constantly updating ourselves with the government's plan of action and latest updates and convening regularly with the management, with the top management, with the different department managers to discuss potential solutions. For instance, we are currently running on a one-shift schedule instead of a regular three-shift to address the limited number of personnel. Select stores are open to continue to serve the community as per our franchises initiative, resulting to less demand that can be accommodated by our one-shift production schedule. Still, we must ensure that our operational stores are provided with products that they need. So, it is important that this one-shift production schedule is maximized. We have provided shuttles for those who are part of the skeletal workforce who live far from our plants. Also, some critical positions, housing facilities had been provided by the company. Apart from providing them with transportation and housing, ensuring their health and safety is also very important. And so temperature checking upon entering the plant, social distancing is also being implemented. For our delivery, the truck deliveries, we applied for food lane passes care of the Department of Agriculture through NMIS in compliance with the government's requirements. At the same time, we had to adjust our delivery schedule, which was originally in the evening, to a morning schedule, since there are LGUs that implement curfews within their jurisdictions. But of course, these measures are flexible and subject to change, especially when new guidelines or announcements had been made by the government. At the same time, we are in constant communication with our franchisees and working personnel for any issues that may arise, which can result to adjustments to our current plans of action. You know, crises like this are never expected, and so companies, especially those working to provide basic necessities, must be able to adapt and come up with sound solutions that benefit not only our customers but also our personnel. So that's what we do in Minute Burger for all the plants that we have serving the limited open stores right now.
Out of the 600 stores you have in Minute Burger, how many are operating right now?
I think the Visayas and Mindanao, they are operating as usual. We were affected since there's the enhanced quarantine here in Luzon. So mostly affected are the Luzon branches, which is I think about 50%.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, very nice. Thank you very much. And yeah, I am very happy listening to all this sharing. And in fact, for the information of everyone, in our Q&A box, there are already 23 questions. And I would like to inform the rest of our participants right here. And of course, those in Facebook, I will make this very loud and clear. We may sound a little less efficient in Facebook because that's how it goes in Facebook Live. So we will suggest that if you are in Facebook right now, you might as well migrate to Zoom because we still have some slots available for participants here. And we would like to tell all our participants that we also are joined in by a few reactors we have chosen to share with us the perspectives of what they're coping as far as their companies are concerned. We have the EVP of the Golden ABC or the Pen Shop Group, Alice Liu, and Alan Escalona, the president of Fruit Magic, will also join us as our reactors, and Debbie Rodolfo, who is the expo chair of the Philippine Franchise Asia 2020, And she is bringing in the perspective of franchisee because she has a franchise of several brands. And the next speaker, or the next panelist, is somebody we would like also to know more, not only because of her celebrity status among the circle of women and the circle of entrepreneur and being one of the advocates and author, but I would like to introduce her also to put value to her being president of the Philippine Franchise Association, where she is also a director for MSME homegrown franchises. Ms. Cheryl Quintana, CFE, is the founding president of Spa Solutions. Spa is the #1 maker of 100% natural rice brand-based health and beauty products in the Philippines. ASEAN Business Awards for Excellence in Healthcare at the ASEAN Business Summit 2016, and the Outstanding Filipino Franchise and Best in CSR Program for Franchise Excellence Awards 2017. She is the first Filipina awarded as Asia Pacific Woman Entrepreneur by the Confederation of Asia Pacific Chambers of Commerce and Industry, or CASI, in Turkey in 2018, named as Outstanding ASEAN Woman Entrepreneur, Most Inspiring Filipina of Go Negosyo, and recognized as one of FWN 100 Most Influential Filipina in the World in London. Cheryl is a graduate of the University of the Philippines, and she was regarded as the distinguished alumna for entrepreneurship and a certified franchise graduate, executive graduate, a mini MBA in franchising at AIM. She is now a chairperson of the Committee on Women and Social Entrepreneurship of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, member and board of directors of the Asian Institute of Certified Franchise Executives, and she is recognized recently as InLife Shiro's Ambassador of the Insular Life. Aside from being a multi-awarded entrepreneur, she is a mentor, professional speaker, and an author of the book Small Entrepreneur's Journey: How to Start, Survive, and Succeed. Ladies and gentlemen, the president of the Philippine Franchise Association, Ms. Cheryl Ramos Quintana.
Good afternoon. Greeting you all a healthy and safe afternoon. Doc Carl, thank you for all the panelists who joined us today. I've been learning a lot. I have already a lot of takeaways from Jerome. Thank you so much. And as well as Ronel, the just-in-time strategy, we've also been adapting already for a couple of years, and it did us so good also. Thank you, Carol. I think a lot of questions on the Q&A are mostly on the logistics sides as of the moment. Our operation at the moment, majority of our stores are closed, especially in Luzon. So some of our stores in Visayas, in Mindanao, are coping by distributing their products through their customers. And but our manufacturing plant is 100% closed already. We've had a skeletal workforce a week before the lockdown. We've kind of foreseeing already that we need to put measures, and like what Ronel was sharing earlier, that just in time we wanted to know how many inventories we have there, although we are not highly, I mean, we are not food, so our products will actually last a longer period of time. Well, how do I start? I'm actually assigned to talk about more on the purpose of how we are coping right now. And I know how difficult for all of us, for each of us, how to wrap our heads around with the current situation we are in right now. And most definitely on the first week, our instant reaction would be denial, impatient, and angry at how the people around us and the systems are coping. But of course, only in accepting that what is the purpose of all of this to our businesses, to our lives after this crisis will end, that we can be empowered to act more appropriately. So I've seen a lot of businesses squandering for having an economic activity or having movement. Some businesses are also shifting right away, being opportunistic at the current situation, shifting from one product, for example, and catering to what is needed. And a lot of us, especially entrepreneurs, I can feel like when the panelists were sharing earlier, and it's each of us can feel how deeply worried the entrepreneurs are with the closure of our stores, most of our stores, if not all, and the concurrent loss of economic activity. But a lot are asking from the government right now, what are the measures available for us to gain economic growth or to even have movement, which is painfully invalid at the moment, sorry to say, because safety more than economic activity is what is paramount now. So in the hierarchy of needs, survival is foremost at the moment. So if I may say, moving forward, I may say, to get the sense of urgency for all of us, especially for the entrepreneurs, it will not hurt us to act like we are in a wartime economy. So I've seen a lot of podcasts available for global strategies analyzing what's happening all over the world. The good thing is the think global, act local is very imminent right now, because we are not the only one, we're not the only country who's experiencing this. So some who've gone through the same experience, we've already got best practices to emulate with. And I've got actually trying to connect with some of colleagues and friends who are in the countries who've underwent already what we are currently undergoing right now, to get some takeaways. And if we want to take a look at the situation like in a wartime economy, first is to take care of ourselves right away, so that we may be able to take care of our people, to take care of our teams, as well as our franchisees or tenants if we may have. Because instead of being trapped in a position of pointing fingers, who are going to take care of my people, we have to take that responsibility in. Para bang tao mo, sagot mo right at the moment. So, and taking care of your team right away, keeping them assured so that they can stay home, take care of their families, and possibly the respective communities, the immediate communities that they're also in. So that's also what happened to us. That's why even if the people were saying, after a week like this week, can they, some of them are willing to go to work, but we're saying our decision is that it will take us longer, going to the quarantine, if matigas nga yung mga ulo natin, no? Following the rules, the objectives of what we are currently doing right now. So, of course, possibly, or probably, and hopefully, this will end, in the first or second month that we have to take that responsibility in. That's why when we were discussing Doc Carl days ago, that financial literacy for MSMEs, most especially, is very important. Now we see that importance right now. How are they going to handle their cash flow, their finances? Because things such as this that we cannot really be prepared enough right now. Also, in a wartime economy, if we can take that model in, is that taking a look at what is the role of the government at the moment, is to provide strategic response and organization on how we go about, how we cope on the problem. Now, what is our role is actually to cooperate fully. And sadly, we've seen a lot of our vulnerabilities at the moment and our lack of preparedness, most especially in urban planning and mobility, as well as our research and development. Of course, health infrastructure, among others, self-reliance, in terms of feeding our people, because right away we had the community enhanced community quarantine, and we are asking for the people to stay in their homes. But the counterpart responsibility is to really feed them. And of course, we can take in that responsibility in terms of employers to their employees, but it cannot be forever, which I will go through to it in a later point. Also, the improper allocation to what can actually make a difference for all of us, which have been pointed out earlier by our panelists also, is the use of technology, that could actually make the difference for all of us right now. And I also believe that the shift towards, if you are running a store or running multiple stores, for example, and shift it to online, that's not an absolute solution to it right now. But of course, we have to have multi channels or omni channels for how we reach our clients and our customers. So staying focused on purpose, the third part of my sharing is actually looking forward to the rehabilitation. So when we take a look at post-corona virus situation, with markets melting down and how our new world order, if I may say so, will look at it, we should be realistic that there will be difficulty in funding source, as this is a global phenomenon. So all of us, all of the other countries are also very busy repairing the damage that has been done to their economies. And meaning that while we have the best practices to leverage on, the empowering reality is that we really have to have measures to be self-reliant, and we have to know how to work effectively together. Because, you know, if we take a look at the current situation, everybody, especially social media is very noisy, you know, they have all the suggestions and all the sharings that they have right now. But one thing is missing is that we don't know how to work together effectively as a people, as a Filipino people, and leveraging also on our own resources right now, build our human capacity or capacitate our people to produce our own food, and helping the government help us eventually, you know, the systems working for us. So I'm seeing also that possibly collaborations will be more imminent, will be more useful at the moment, you know, brand-to-brand collaborations. What Jerome said earlier is having a nimble or multitask workforce. So some in the Q&A are asking about the hiring concerns. So those are probably would be helpful in getting our workforce, or getting the ones on board. Also, franchising will make it possible for us enhancing our presence locally, in you know, having more, or nurturing our presence locally, having more local stores. Because at the moment, what we realize is that you can actually work in where you are at the moment. So I think that would help us navigate in the future, that it's also best to nurture your immediate community and having or enhancing our presence in our own localities. So I think this is the best time, in fact, for entrepreneurs to rise beyond our own weaknesses. I know it's very hard, and a lot of people are looking at us in terms of what help can we give, you know, to the society, to our people. And in fact, we actually need that help also at the moment, especially for the entrepreneurs, for the founders most especially, and the organizations. But it is there's a call to rise beyond our weaknesses and strive in the strength to work together and try beyond our own distrust, to really trust one another for the nation to survive at the moment. So that's it, Doc Carl.
Thank you very much. It's a wonderful, really wonderful discussion. As for me, I'm learning myself, and it's a very nice opportunity for us to do some introspection as well. I'm trying to draw in some frameworks, and I commit to the participants here that because you have registered, you will be able to continually communicate with you. I have summarized it in this way based on the presentation before I call in the reactors. Okay, the first R that I want to bring on the table is response. How are we responding? And here where we heard the word survival, we heard the word agility, just in time, collaboration. The rehabilitation is what's coming as soon as this crisis is over, where we need to adapt and adopt. That's one with an O and one with an A. Adapt to the change that it is that this crisis has brought us, and adopt the best practices that others are doing. That's why this area of collaboration and learning together is very important. And the readiness, which comes last in a cycle, is readiness for the future, because I think this crisis is meant to make us better entrepreneurs, better individuals in the future, where the powerful word of business continuity came in, and the realignment. So these are some of the early takeaways that I have here and that I would like to share with you. And at this point, I would like to bring in our reactors. Alam nyo, sa show ko, sa DZMM, sa teleradyo, you can see me, press a lot of buttons around me, and there are at least 1 million people watching. But here it's different because this is new to me, and ayun, naghahanap pa rin ako ng mga pwede kong magawa. Anyway, I'd like to bring in the EVP, the Executive Vice President of Golden ABC. Marami na siyang sinagot ng mga questions earlier placed in the chat room. But again, we would like to inform you that we're clustering your questions in the Q&A button, because we cannot, as of now, we have 34 questions. Imagine if we will have 2 minutes to answer each, it will take another hour. So headed by Chris Lim, we're clustering the questions already so that we can ask it later, and we can collaborate on the answers and on the ideas that will come along the way. Now, may we have now Miss Alice Liu, okay, of Golden ABC, to talk to us. Alice, please, you have the floor, Alice. Wait, Alice, I'm all right. Wait.
Okay.
All right.
Can you
please.
hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Alice. Please.
Okay. Hi everyone. Hi, Carl. Most of the questions I'm seeing online are mostly about how to restart the business and how to stay afloat. So the thing that we've done as a company during these difficult times, first of all, is that you have to learn to communicate. Communicate to your employees, communicate to your suppliers. You have to reach out to them. Kasi all your franchise partners, I'm sure, are anxious. And they are looking at you also as, as a source of information, probably a source of learning. So make sure that you reach out to them. You may not have the answers. You may not have the 100% solution for all of them, but the mere fact that you reach out and share with them what you yourself are doing to protect your business and to take care of your people, that I think is also going to be a relevant input to most of the business owners here. Liquidity is important at this point. Having the cash to pay the payroll, to take care of the other supply issues that you need to bring in is also very important. So that's something that we made sure that we were able to address early on at the beginning of this whole quarantine process. So what else? For Golden ABC, of course, we have a lot of employees, and a lot of them are really at the front line. So we have activated work from home. for most of our employees who are able to work from home. For the frontliners, we have frontliners and the office people. We have also granted special leave credits with pay for regular and probationary employees for the duration of the lockdown without touching muna their current leave benefits. So that's something that we've given them because yun yung main concern, I'm sure, ng all the frontliners now, that where will I get my next sahod? So after the 14th, when we will see what happens after April 14, if the lockdown continues or if the community quarantine continues, then we will also look for other ways of really addressing the income stream issues again. So as of March 23, all our stores nationwide have been closed already. There are a few that did not want to give us, discounted rent, etc. But we felt that the safety of our people was more important, so we decided to close even those stores. So I think everybody is looking at tapping into the 13th month pay as the next steps for those that are not able to give the additional leave credits to their people. No? So those are things that we are studying at this point. Of course, our management team meets on a day-to-day basis so that we can assess how our people are. There are teams that are reaching out to them. I think at this point for franchisees and franchisors, that's something that you can do to reach out to your people, to reach out to your business partners also. So, Carl.
Ali, so it's like taking it one step at a time.
Yes,
And
because things change on a day-to-day basis, diba? Even our government issues new regulations, new benefits, etc. So we react based on that. So this is the time when everyone needs to be agile and on call.
Yeah.
You can't just work from home and then be super relaxed because all our businesses are closed. What we're constantly doing now is we monitor our people, the security of our stores. We talk to our business partners as well. We talk to our suppliers to find out how they're doing and how they're also coping, because in the end, when we need to restart our business after all this is over, we need to make sure that everyone is okay.
Yeah.
So
certainly we cannot
key.
Certainly we cannot swallow the elephant, but we can chop it.
Yes.
And take one bite at a time.
Yes.
I think that's a scenario for everyone.
I think that at this point, I like what one of the CEOs of the biggest fast food chains in China said when she was interviewed, that at this point, no business, there is time to make money, and there is time to really give back. So this is a year when probably most businesses will not make money, and most businesses will probably also take a hit financially. But money can always be made. What is important is we stay in business.
And we stay healthy.
Yes. Yes.
I think
we survive this first.
Yeah,
yes.
This is the time that we have to really shift from that wealth making to health and wellness paradigm.
Yes.
And thank you for that, Alice. And certainly in my own personal experience, I am also burdened by that. Imagine I have 400 faculty. Most of them are on the part-time. I mean, and on call and etc. But I cannot even close my eyes on them because some of them part-time and consultants to me, on call to me. But I mean, my business is their bread and butter.
Yes.
How can I just close my eyes to the fact that, well, they are not my regular employees, but they're also in danger of suffering. And that's where the issue of financial literacy comes in. First week pa lang, wala nang makain yung mga tao natin. Where is that lesson that we should be able to survive 3 months of our lives without having to work?
Well, unfortunately, many of our workers are really hand to mouth. I mean, like each payday is very important to them. So We will do what we can to really help sustain it. Our sales staff were all very happy to hear that our CEO, Mr. Bernie Liu, has extended the 15 days to all regular and even probationary employees. So we're also reaching out to some of the agency staff that work for us part-time so that to make sure that their own agencies also take care of them.
Yeah, I would like to assure all the listeners, the viewers, and the participants of this conference that your questions are being noted. Your questions are actually being clustered so that they will be asked later to all our panelists and our reactors. But of all the things that Alice shared with us today, I think I love the word reach out. Reach out to our
Yes.
franchisees and to our people.
I think baka yung mga franchisors kasi takot silang mag-reach out because they might feel na baka hingian ako ng subsidy, di ba? But at this point, tulungan na lang kasi it's not really anymore a matter of, everybody is scared with this. Like even big companies are scared what to do next, and so it's really just trying to find out, okay, what are you doing? How can we help you? How are you, protecting your business?
You talked about anxiety. The purpose of reaching out and communication is to allay anxiety. As a matter of fact, when you're able to express what you feel, you have already reduced the level of that anxiety. And with that, I would like to bring in our next reactor. She happens to be a franchisee of many brands. I have not heard about it. Tatanungin natin ilang brands siya meron. But is she anxious? How is her
Hello, Debbie.
Hi, Alice.
Hi. How are her franchisors? Trying to reach out to her and allay her anxiety. I don't know if Penshop is one of your franchise. Yeah, Debbie, Rodolfo, tell us your reaction to what you have heard so far.
Hi, Carl. Hi, Alice. I agree very much with what Alice said. No, in fact, I was making notes and going through, and I'll go through the notes na lang. So I'm Debbie Rodolfo. I'm a franchisee. I'm from Davao. So hi from Davao. I hope everyone is safe and healthy. Same as with the rest of the country, we're on lockdown since last week, and only cargo is allowed to come into the region. So Ronald mentioned earlier about the difficulty of logistics, and most other movement is restricted. So local government is leading the response. The situation is very fluid, but the LGU has been active and responsive. And as a new franchisee, I consider this COVID-19 really a baptism of fire. So I'm a franchisee of 3 brands. One brand is operating in a mall about 5 months already, so it's closed temporarily, while 2 are under construction and yet to be open. So I don't know if the delay is a good thing or a bad thing. So, but I have staff who have started training already. So there is something, of course, the situation is worrying, and there are some things that have been highlighted because of this lockdown. One is, as Ronel mentioned, just-in-time delivery. It's ideal, and there are indeed challenges in delivery, especially to provincial stores, as Ronel and Ms. Carol mentioned. And I believe for franchisors, in light of the challenges that COVID has highlighted and the lockdown, what should be considered is also just-in-time delivery for provincial stores. How can you do that for provincial stores? Like, before you think about expanding, should you have already warehouses or commissaries in the provinces? Second is franchisee support, which was what Alice was mentioning earlier. And that's really important, touching base with the franchisor companies touching base with their franchisors.
Did they touch base with you?
Some, yes.
Yeah, that's a good.
And I saw in the Q&A some questions on franchisor and franchisee relationship. And those are the questions I have too as a franchisee. And Jerome mentioned earlier about realignment of business strategies. And for franchisor companies, this should also be communicated to franchisees. Will growth or expansion plans continue as usual? Can we expect the numbers presented pre-COVID to be the same as before? So what support can franchisors give to franchisees? So ito yung sinabi ni Alice na baka takot yung mga franchisors mag-reach out sa franchisees kasi baka hihinga ng support. But I think it's also the responsibility of the franchisor. It's because of course, your business partners. So you have to make sure that you're both doing well. So what support can franchisors give to franchisees at this time, especially to help in the cash flow and operations? Because franchisee companies are usually SMEs, and SMEs are really the hardest hit. And third, also what Alice mentioned, cash flow, importance of liquidity, and indeed beyond the formal business continuity plan, number one is the cash flow, how to preserve our capital and minimize expenses during the non-operation, how to take care of people, really how to support the franchisees. That's it for now.
All right, very nice. Well said. Mamaya ipipm kita kung ano yung franchisor na nagbigay at ano yung hindi. So that's a nice recommendation, because I always recommend to my listeners that if you want to franchise, you don't go to the franchisor to ask, you go to a franchisee on what kind of supports they are able to give. Yun lagi yung advice ko, rule of thumb. All right, so we're now down to our interaction, and currently we have 319 participants, and we are live on Facebook. Although in Facebook there are limitations to the quality of sound and video that we're getting, but I'm sure the participants in the Zoom meeting is agreeing with the fact that we are doing it well, and we're doing it TV quality, and we're doing it CNN quality here in the PFA First E Kapihan. And by the way, announcement this early, we will have our next, and watch out for that, very, very soon. As a matter of fact, ilili ko na to, ha, Ms. She, with your permission. We're already considering a regular Wednesday afternoon engagement with all of you. And please send us some feedbacks if that is something you want to happen. All right, the first question I would throw to all the panelists we have right now. And by the way, I'll show you later yung iba nating panelists. You may just speak out and pick up on the questions that I will ask, courtesy of Chris Lim, who is consolidating all the questions. The first question is on, let me just get it. First question is on cash flow. Okay, Rich Chance is now joining us for this part. On cash flow, how are you currently boosting your sales, if this is your intention at all? What are the effective channels that you are exhausting to mitigate the limited cash flow? Where can you get enough funds to make overhead costs and salary if operations are not normal at 100%? A lot of companies right now, especially those with raw products, are selling frozen or ready-to-cook products, so they will there will be cash flow and avoid spoilage. Is it legal to really to sell ready-to-cook or frozen products, or does it require special permit? So it's on the cash flow. I think any of our panelists could come in and just unmute yourself, and I'll put you on video. Are you in that mood of boosting sales at this point, or are there strategies and channels that you're exhausting to mitigate the limited cash flow right now? Please, anybody in the group, in the panel can speak.
Well, Doc Carl.
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay. Well, we have seen already, as shared by all of us, that really cash flow is very crucial at this period in time. But as shared also by Alice, even if we wanted to gain sales right at the moment, it's very difficult because it will probably risk also your people, no, your deliveries and all. In fact, what we did during the skeletal workforce week that we had was to have our inventories also. It is also very crucial what you can give out, what you can contribute to your immediate community. In fact, some donations don't have to be centralized on the hospitals or frontliners in Manila, because we also want to beef up the frontliners and the communities where we are in. So we can actually release some of our inventories as part of the donations. But of course, not all of us, majority are not afloat and are caught off guard at the moment. Some spending are also happening in your localities. In fact, there's also movements that people or enterprises are selling to the LGUs at the moment, where they can actually distribute it also. And one way also of instead of donating, if you are an enterprise na mababa ang capacity or no capacity to donate, but you actually have some systems in place to have food delivered, so you can actually open that up for other people to pay for that donation, and you can prepare and deliver to those who are in need at the moment. So very limited, but
Just to
it's
mitigate.
still anchored on how you can be of help immediately to the communities
So
that you are in.
probably, Cheryl, safe to say that don't expect to actually cope with the sales that you used to have, no, Alice?
Of course, of
I don't
course.
think it's about
Yeah.
creating sales level similar to what you have had before the crisis. But I think the interest of others is at least to make people productive, number one. Number two is to at least alleviate the the burden of having to absorb a lot of cost. Like in my case, and this is where opportunities are. In as far as I'm concerned, for example, I was talking about my faculty, 400 of them from all over the country. You know what I did? I just gave them an opportunity. Okay, how many of you could write books? How many of you could develop learning resources? And you know why? Because I want to help those people who would like to help themselves. And when I am able to identify how many of my faculty now, like 100 of them are now writing books. And for all you know, these are new opportunities for me because after this crisis, I am not only a review center, I'm also a publisher. So I would have how many? Maybe 15 books to launch. Okay, so I think it's not really about creating the profit or making the business run as usual, but
Yeah.
to mitigate the impact to our cash flow. Any other Jerome, would you like to say something about this as a consultant?
Yeah, no, I think right now everybody is pretty much in survival mode, and the priority
Yes.
absolutely should be to certainly protect your people. Maybe I can just share, no, because I've actually had some experience in another life. I was also in retail, and I actually had the experience of running a very small retail organization in Singapore during SARS. And my priority was really the same, no? Just to look after my employees, make sure that they were okay. And you really, during times like this, you really have to think out of the box. Like in our case, we were able to find an untapped market in the course of looking for new opportunities. So you never know what might be out there. And I think for many of our clients in KPMG, that's what they also are looking at now, trying to look at where channels could be, because I think the thing is you need to be around. The business needs to be around when people come back to work, and I think that's one of the major responsibilities of the business owners.
It's really survival, no?
Yeah.
How to continue to survive amidst this, and how to make sure that after COVID-19 you're still there.
Yes.
And make money later on. Most importantly, what kind of person have you become after this? At the end of the day, do you still have your employees feeling that you are their partners? Your partners seeing you still as partners. I think that's the point of it. And by the way, she mentioned about maybe you can donate not money but something you could put that could be of value. Like in my case, you would notice my Facebook. This is my suggestion because everyone is in social media now. If you wake up 8:30 in the morning, my site would have good balita, and at 9 o'clock comes one program, and there are 4 programs delivered live on Facebook. And in the evening, I even have Zumba, I have concerts. Some artists are doing concerts in my page. So what is that to me? To me, that is innovation of how I'm doing and I'm coping with the situation. And I'm strengthening my brand. I'm building greater relationship with my clients. And I'm seen beyond what others have seen me before in that social media platform, which is my only way to actually communicate. All right, let's move on to the question on logistics. Ito mahaba-haba. I just would like to read it all. Any one of the panelists, maybe Carol, you want to talk about this because this is logistics. Maybe Ronel. Delivery. Are there any extraordinary measures being considered on how the delivery? But wait, I'm sorry. Maybe you should answer the question earlier kasi this is a matter of importance, ano? If we are now selling cook or frozen, okay, does it require special permit? I mean, probably the question is about marami na daw nagbebenta ng raw products ngayon and frozen, ready to cook just to maintain their cash flow and to avoid spoilage. Is that something anybody who may know the legal implication of this? Like, can Ronel now sell ready to mix coffee, and can Minute Burger now sell patties? How is this? Anyone who may know the answer to this
Yeah,
question?
because Carl, very few wants to buy cooked food. That's why, yes, please, Ronel.
Ronel?
Yes, the card. What we're doing is we're donating our near expiry products to our frontliners right now, and we activate our food trucks going around the two different checkpoints in Metro Manila. We're donating our drinks and coffee to hospitals like PGH, San Lazaro, and Santa Ana hospitals right now.
Okay, and
The
then
card.
what do you get for donating it?
But it creates it creates loyalty to your customers, especially if in this time right now na we're in a crisis, na madaling maka-appreciate yung tao. So right after this crisis, kung sino yung makaalala or sino yung mga taong na-touch dun sa donations mo, those are your sure customers
So
after this crisis.
you're not donating because they'll spoil anyway. You're donating
Yes.
because you want to be part of this experience, no? Of this crisis.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I think that gives you more more passion to do it
Leverage.
then, and leverage, and in the end you become beneficiary to it. All right, now let me go to the question. But about permit, anybody who may know the answer to that, do we need some special permit on that?
Carl,
Yes, Ali.
I don't know what the legal side and the accounting side of this will be as a business entity, but if you ask me, the priority for small businesses at this point is really being able to convert their current inventory into cash. Yun naman talaga, di ba?
Yeah.
So when you are able to do that, I know some restaurants have been very creative enough to do a text brigade and say, I have this much number of kilos of pre-marinated, whatever, and when you do respond, ubus na. So there are people responding and buying that. So, sa point ko lang ngayon, gawin nyo na yung kailangan nyong gawin as a business to stay afloat. And then let's find a solution to all of that, yung the legal side and all that in the future na, kasi we're not under normal times. And I think our government naman will be very understanding what small business owners have to do to really keep their businesses afloat.
Yeah.
So parang at this point, wag nang matakot niyan. Gawin niyo na yung kailangan yung gawin, di ba?
That's what entrepreneurs do best.
Yes.
Risk, okay?
Yes.
Especially anchored on purpose, isn't it, Michelle?
Yes.
Yes. In fact, one of the things that happened right away are if some organizations, some companies have the capacity for delivery, and some are able to pay naman for the donations. So it's just matching them. And so gusto mo mag-donate, but so you want to buy certain goods, certain food, and those will be donated.
Yeah, ako lang nag-react ako talaga before the next
behalf.
Yeah, thank you very much. Ako nag-react lang ako recently kasi sabi ko, sanay kasi minsan yung mga local governments sa tatakbo agad sa atin for help. It's not that because we don't want to help. Pero ang comment ko lagi, hello, ubus na pera nyo? Pangalawang tanong, hello, hindi nyo ba alam mas malaki problema namin kaysa sa inyo? You know what I mean? So ang suggestion ko lang dito is let's make sure we are able to survive. We're sure that we're able to help ourselves. so that we can help others. I love, Che, what you mentioned. And yung wartime economy, self-preservation is not selfish. It's so that you're able to help others in the process. Okay, let's go to logistics. Delivery. Are there any extraordinary measures being considered on how the delivery riders, couriers, can be protected from possible COVID-19 contamination, since they are now highly exposed to due to the high demand of their service? So totoo lang, kawawa naman sila. Due to unavailability of manpower and logistics machinery, how do you manage to deliver products to your stores that have chosen to open? Ako, ganda to, Carol, no? Did you also opt to sell frozen products to avoid spoilage? And lastly, related question is, what are our strategies on items, especially near expiry? I heard of spoilage issue with some business models in the industry. What are you doing to avoid this, or to reap the benefits out of items that will just expire? Like, for example, donating to poor communities or frontliners. Anybody who would like to answer this? Carol, I think you're in the best position.
For us, excess inventory, we are donating it to charity. Ever since, not the COVID case, even before, we are donating like for example, excess inventory of hot dog or buns, we are donating it to charity. But right now, since we also have excess inventory, most especially the buns, since it is a short life product, we are giving it to our employees who are working. So those who are on the skeletal force, they receive buns, extra buns for them.
Yeah, but you're not selling it anymore. Not for a cost.
No. We're giving it for free.
Yeah.
The top management decided to give it them for free.
I think at this point, we should really listen to the voice within. No, like tipong, kaya mo bang ibenta to sa tao mo, kahit piso, considering na alam mong naglakad dyan papasok para lang makasakay ng whatever.
Yes.
Like for example, if I may just share my what I launched last night, we're doing review for 100 pesos. For 3 hours of expert review. They used to pay 1,000. Now they pay 100. Why 100? Hindi ba ako naaawa dun sa nasingil naming 100? You know why I had to do that? Because I have to somehow give it to the one who will teach. Because in that way, I'm able to help someone earn something out of this crisis. So it's really listening to what's in the heart. No? Thank you very much for that. Anyone else? Ronel, you would like to add up to that question? Yung near expiry, although parts yung sinagot mo kanina, meron ba daw extraordinary measure para sa mga riders? Do we know an answer to this question?
Yes, Carl, syempre safety is yung pinaka-paramount sa priority natin. So syempre, the business starts and ends with people. So yung safety talaga nila dapat na prioritize natin.
Alam mo, sa totoo lang, even my family, just to tell you, and I'm sure I'm not alone. When my kids are tempted to order, I will always, touch their conscience and say, hello, hindi ka naawa dun sa magdi-deliver. Diba? Parang ganun. And then they will say, okay, let's just cook eggs or something. And it's very effective. I think it's a very responsible campaign for us to somehow decrease the demand. Otherwise, they might just be exploited by some for profit or for sustainability that in the end would make some people suffer. Anyway, this is a beautiful question and it concerns all of us. On franchising, what are the basic responsibilities of franchisors to franchisees amidst the pandemic? What is your stand regarding a request to waive royalty fee of the franchisors as a means of helping franchisees survive until things normalizes? After the COVID-19 crisis is over, what relevant changes does franchise companies might want to reconsider? Yeah. Anyone who would like to talk about this? Yeah. Jerome, although Jerome is not directly into franchising, but maybe Alice and She and Debbie, ayun daw, waive daw ang royalty fee. And may responsibility ba tayo? Is this part of the contract? Have you reviewed our contracts on
Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead. Anybody, please.
Yeah, Alice, sorry.
Alice?
Go ahead, She.
Well, as we were sharing earlier, this is not a time to point fingers kung this is part of the contract or whatever, no? Under normal circumstances, the contract, of course, is reinforced. But the purpose of it all, one of the purpose of it all is actually to gain the trust of your partners, of your people, of your franchisees or tenants, if you may have at the moment. And of course, if there are also no operations, how will there be a royalties? So, pare-pareho kayong walang sales eh. So, I think the franchisors will actually take the lead to reach out to their franchisees. And for the franchisees naman din, it's like also the private sector and the government, no? At some point, we are waiting for each other, no? Who can have the best solution to offer. So if you already have suggestions on how to go about it, it will be helpful for both sides. On our part, of course, those fees should be waived.
Yeah, it's I think defining the win-win scenario here. It's
Yeah.
finding the win-win space. It's a space where no one is a loser. Because I think when the franchisee naman realize na you're also in the losing end, how can you
Of
kill what is
course.
already dead, 'di ba? I mean, I think that's very practical guidance na we are not heavy if we are brothers. You know what I mean?
Yes. It's really the true test of partnership na
Yeah.
at this point, 'di ba?
Perfect.
Kasi you want your franchisee to also stay in business.
Yeah.
Kasi paano ka makaka-collect pag wala ng negosyo yung franchisee mo after all of this,
Exactly.
di ba? So tulungan muna. At this point, yes, you can choose. It's in the contract, it's legal, but it's not anymore about, as Miss Cheryl said, it's not anymore about what is legal and what's not. It's really about being humane and really being able to help a kapwa franchisee to
Survive.
really stay afloat. Yes.
Yeah, just at least survive. And when
Yes.
up and running, that's when we talk again. How do we go to the next level? Right? Very nice.
Yes.
Very nice question. Thank you very much. This is a question for Mr. Jerome Garcia. How will M&A deal activity among emerging businesses be affected by COVID-19 situation in the next 12 months? In terms of services, how can KPMG Philippines help businesses during this time? Like, for example, restructuring services, modeling, IT services. Do you have any concrete answer for this? Very concrete, specific.
Yeah, I think this will largely depend on how long this situation lasts. We're all praying that it's much shorter, but essentially what we see in the M&A environment is after all of this, there may be a number of companies which will be looking for capital. They could be looking for, and that could be either in debt or equity capital. They may be looking for a partner to help them get the business revitalized. So those opportunities certainly, this is a black swan event. It's an aberration, and once we get past it, hopefully we will be able to recover rather quickly, and there will still be M&A opportunities. I think where we can help is certainly the services we provide is to help with the visibility of that in terms of helping with financial projections, things like valuation, and even the partnership search or capital raising. So those are the areas where I think we can help. And I think moving forward, and again, depending on how long this lasts, there will be opportunities out there.
Yeah, there will always be opportunities. And just to pick up from your presentation earlier, I noted a question here. How is the economic impact in the Philippines compared with similar countries experiencing the same? Is ours better, worse, just the same? Are there indicators that can make us have a sigh of relief and say, well, we're doing better than China in terms of impact, etc.?
Well, GDP growth, we're still good. I mean, if we're looking at 4.3 as an adjusted figure, then that's still better than many of the developed countries, which are growing at a much slower pace. However, if we use the stock market as a barometer, we've been hit quite significantly, and this will overall, this does have a view for foreign investments coming in if the market's not doing well. However, as I said, we're still looking at a pretty robust GDP. If we can maintain that 4.3, meaning assuming that things end after 2 months, then our GDP is still pretty good, and I think we'll still continue to attract investments, and our economy will still do well.
So we're doing good. We're doing good somehow.
Assume-
Doing good. At least.
assuming that this can end sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, She, you want to say
Yeah,
something?
in that light, because I saw some of the questions relating to that, no, and some would say that this will, they don't think it will only last for a month. It may probably be 2 to 3 months on the positive note, and surely, of course, no, we can only bleed up to a certain point, and we cannot be forever like this. Of course, right now we are on a survival mode, but after this, we have to be already on a rebuilding mode in terms of the loss of our economic activity and the disruption of the market. So I think that is also the beauty of being part of an organization, of a business organization in terms of your sector, because we are actually moving towards collating what we can actually suggest to the government in terms of the strategic response moving towards that. Kasi there are a lot of questions in terms of if you are outside the mall, can it be can they waive the rental? So we cannot only rely on one government agency to answer that, right? And what's happening also is that this should be done by the government, etc. But as a private sector, as entrepreneurs also, what can we suggest to them that will enable us to move forward? So parang helping them help us also how to move around it. Kasi,
enabling us, so to speak, no?
Oh, enabling us. Kasi we cannot be, certainly, the danger is the uncertainty na, kasi the lockdown is, the enhanced community quarantine is up to mid-April, right? But of course, we are very uncertain if we're able to go past beyond that right away. Of course, it will be a different world order, so to speak, no? Because we're not the only one going through with this. But there are a lot of suggestions that can come up, and we can suggest for them.
Yeah, and
to
certainly
them that can enable us.
And certainly PFA is mindful, and PFA is proactive.
Yes.
PFA
We
is
actually,
touch.
yes, Doc Carl. We already have, along with other organizations, brother organizations like Philippine Chamber of Commerce, Philippine Retail Association, the Employers Confederation. We already have been part of a call for a fiscal response. We're also in terms of PFA, the Philippine Franchise Association is right now also, we have discussions on board what we can suggest to help our franchisors and our franchisee.
Yeah, very good.
Be able to cope with this.
Yeah, thank you very much, She. And really, the beauty of this experience today, and I'm sure everybody will agree, is that we're not in the public, or we're not in the arena shouting out what we want to say, but we are in some sort of a quote unquote academic but very practical environment where we may not come in thousands the way I do it in my Facebook. When I'm in my Facebook Live, I get disappointed if I only have 3,000 viewers. But now this is very niche, because I think in our registry, as I'm seeing right now, are really franchisors and franchisees. And you can just
business owners.
And business owners.
Yes.
Can you just imagine the wealth of ideas we're trying to generate for everyone, and the lesson learned after all of this is done.
Yes.
No? And that's why personally, I'm inspired by this. Thank you for the opportunity given to me by the PFA to be, to be part of this. And somebody just messaged me that there are other applications I can use so that it can be viewed on the phone. Salamat po, and let's continue doing this, because I think this is our role. And later on, who knows, you will be part of the panel already, especially if you can message us on what you can contribute for the learning together in
Carl,
this crisis. Yes, Alice.
Carl, I think we also have to thank Secretary Mon Lopez, who has his ears on the ground and has
Yes.
always just been very responsive to our group chats. I know he's been very busy, but despite that, nakikinig talaga siya at he does his best to help. Also, si PA Joey has also been very actively listening to what all the business owners needs, and they're also doing their best to really push the agenda to really help the small and medium enterprises survive this. No?
Yeah, and let me tell everyone, this is probably not a personal experience, but everybody's experience. Did you not experience the beauty of the family nowadays, that you're complete, that you're together? I couldn't remember a day in my life that I had one full week with my family, in the same space. This is a perfect opportunity. Sabi ko nga, oh, thank God there is this crisis, because now I realize na parang ang dami ko palang na-miss, and they have grown up, and sabi ko, when was the last time I had this experience? So let's enjoy this. Anyway, let's proceed to the question. I have 3 more clustered questions before we open some more discussion. Planning for after quarantine. Ito yung tanong. For SMEs with limited reserve funds to sustain the business for a period of 1 month only after this crisis, which I think most of us are affected, or reserve funds were already used up, how can we strategize now to get back again, since OPEX is going to start spending? And that's a beautiful question. We'll talk about that. I would like to ask this to our tenured franchisors here. For a new franchisor like me, how are we going to consider bouncing back after the quarantine? In our case, customers are not the only concerns we have, since franchisees are also waiting for updates plans after the quarantine. I think partly that was answered earlier. Prior to this pandemic, most of the SMEs don't have a business continuity plan in place. Perfect. I was about to say that.
Yeah.
How can they kickstart their business continuity in the midst of the ongoing crisis? Any resources they can access? Beautiful. Any resources they can access? The magic word Mon Lopez came out earlier. What are the contingency measures in terms of logistics and people if this ECQ is expanded, and if this ECQ is extended for 2 to 3 more months? The first is to follow the lead of the government by forwarding the 13th month and the process of DOLE assistance. What else can we do moving forward? Our office management employees are going to be paid, but how about our frontliners? We are in SME, cannot follow the lead of San Miguel Ayala or Globe. Okay, comments please. Continuity. Where do we go from here? How far can we go? How far can we bleed?
Yeah, it's very painful, no, to share or to say that if you actually already used up, kung 1 month lang ang kaya mo, of course the inevitable really is to change course, or to plan for a cleaner slate probably after this crisis. Yun nga, a lot of people are asking about the measures that they can access. Same mindset on the assistance from the Department of Labor and Employment, the 5,000 cash. I know a lot of employers are navigating that, but that is a very limited amount. And also the measures or the funds that are available for MSMEs to start anew are also very limited. So if we're able to help ourselves also to stay afloat after this, will be most helpful. I'm sure I cannot say isa-isa yung mga programs that are available from the government, but I was talking to some people from the Department of Trade and Industry the other day, and surely there are measures. Pero yun nga like what we've been sharing earlier, parang this is a wake-up call, no? This is a crisis that we are going to push a sense of urgency nga. We are in a wartime economy. So parang to push an economic growth at this moment is very it's not called for at the moment. So siguro let's wait for a couple of weeks. Pero yun nga, honestly, for those who reach out na paano yan, maliit lang kami, we are MSME, most probably micro and small, ano kaagad,
Pasok.
sobrang affected kaagad, and we can see a lot probably are closing down after this kung talagang humaba pa yung period na they will have to run on low or no fuel at all with all the OPEX. Pero yun nga after this, parang stage by stage.
Yeah.
That's how we should look at the situation now.
One
Although
step.
you plan ahead, pero katulad ng isang nagsabi nga, no, that's the painful part. You don't have a continuity plan.
Yeah.
So I think that's also one of the purposes we can have as a takeaway. A lot of learnings actually are from the ground right now that we're getting na, okay, if I'm given a chance again, what are the best practices that I can apply to my business?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much, She. And let me share something. If there is something I would like to share to the group, aside from this framework that we're trying to tackle now, which I think we're achieving very positively. As an educator, there is something I would like to contribute before we wrap up about this, because I think learning is a conscious effort. If we are proactive learners, if we are conscious on the steps that we take to learn it. The first is the experience. Let's just let the experience pass, enjoy the experience, and later on, I think this is the moment when we can actually reflect from this experience. Sometimes we just experience it and we stop there. No, that's why experience is not always the best teacher. It's sometimes the worst, because it gives you the lesson before it gives you the test before the lesson. But if experience is brought to the next level of reflection, then we are able to theorize. This is when we can actually make a conclusion of what works and what does not work, so that we are ready to experiment and use this theory, use this conclusion in another experience. But let me show you, this is my contribution to this discussion today. How come others are not able to look through this and learn? Because we lack the valuing skill. The moment we don't value this experience, we lost the opportunity to learn from it. I think all of us should agree in this conference, in this kapihan, that we have to find the value of this experience in our personal, family, friendships life, friends life, in our business life. And reflection is when we will challenge our thinking skills, our ability to think, our ability to be quiet. I think this world has become a little more quiet. Just go out the social media because it's very loud and very noisy and sometimes senseless out there. Allow us to think through this and allow us to make decisions. I think the entrepreneurs will be able to decide more and better if they are able to pass through this process. And finally, when all of this, or while this is ongoing, and immediately after this, we'll be able to act. I think this is my share. This is not my theory, but this is the Kolb's adult learning theory, which makes us value experience, which allows us to think through our reflection, decide to develop our own, framework and concept out of that experience and reflection, and make us ready to act again when we are ready to act again. So that's my little share to everyone, as probably the teacher in this classroom. And now we are down to our final question, which has something to do with government. The government. Anyone here who has used the DOLE? The DOLE has access to DOLE funds, etc. Meron bang case that you can share with us? And any clear guidelines already available? Are outlet crews included in the cash assistance? That's a question. Aside from rental breaks from landlords, what possible rental model can we explore? Ang ganda ng tanong. Is there a public sector representative in government strategic response? That these are some of the questions. Please. Yeah? Anyone from the group?
We've submitted already our accounting, our HR department actually submitted our form. That's a form that you can access online at the website of the Department of Labor and Employment. And then basically it's for companies who have less than 200 employees. So all of the members of your organization are entitled to that 5,000 cash assistance. But of course, we've submitted that kasi syempre...
Sabi small and medium lang siya. Totoo ba? Small and medium lang?
And micro.
Micro, small. Wala palang nakasalang medium. So you have to be micro or small.
200, yes. 200 employees and
or
below.
Less. And below.
Ang entitled. And then, so very basic lang din naman yung mga information that they're asking. But you know, the crucial thing is, it's not automatic. It's not a default, no? Na parang you are withdrawing cash. That's why we have a very, I think Alice was sharing earlier, no, about communicating with your team. So even if we've accessed that, we've submitted our form, also the submission of the form is online. They made it very easy naman, in fairness to Dole.
Anybody
we've done it, yes. We've submitted
here
yesterday.
na nakakuha na yung tao nila ng 5,000? O may nabalita?
Wala pa. Kasi,
So,
they just opened...
baka tapos na yung crisis, wala pa rin.
No comment.
No comment.
Pero what we need to explain to our team also is that it's not like an ATM na parang magwi-withdraw tayo doon, no? The department also with the dollar would also be it's subject for approval from them.
Very
so
nice.
We're also explaining that of course they cannot be present right away to check and
yeah, sana lang, no?
I just want to mention, no, kasi a lot of people are clamoring also for assistance from the government, and all the spending from the government, but a lot also are clamoring for not paying the tax na muna. So we've got a 1-month extension, but it's just a reminder also, especially for our micro and small entrepreneurs, that we don't have never miss that. Kasi saan din naman nila kukunin yung money to spend. Also, it is our obligation as an entrepreneur, as a people, to pay our taxes.
That's correct. It's a law daw eh. It's a law that requires another law to bend it.
Baka may penalties pa. On that note also, if I may add, probably there could be a review. There should be a review on the taxation. I think Jerome already shared something about taxation earlier. But, we are one of the countries that is very difficult to start anew. Parang when you close an old company, napakahirap niya. And a lot of fees are to be paid.
So ito hindi naman Control-Alt-Delete ang gagawin natin sa business natin after eh. This is just leveraging up. And sabi ko nga, ako personally, yung businesses ko are also suffering. Pero when somebody asks help from me, especially government, ang sinasabi ko ngayon is, teka lang, I need to help myself. I need to help my people. Then, not because I don't want to help you, pero ayokong magmukha kayong kawawa na ngayon pa lang wala na kayong pera. Ibig sabihin wala na ng sustainability plan yung business, wala pa rin bang sustainability plan yung government, at least at the local level. Anyway, question related to hospitality and education industries. With 3 to 6 months closure looming in education-based business, which was first to be closed and last to be opened, as experienced in China lockdown, what measures can be done to get through this pandemic? Opo, yung resort ko po sarado. I'm from the hospitality industry, and restricted mobility really stop people from traveling. I just want to know from the panelists their insight how they cope with financial issues like liquidity, bonds, and loans. Yeah, anybody here in the hospitality industry, mapwera sa akin. Wala. You know what I do, what I did for my resort, it became their training time. In other words, I engage them in learning because there's nothing I can do but make them survive, allow them to survive, and support them to survive. So I want them to be better versions of themselves when they go back to work after this lockdown. What can I do? Then promotion. We're creating new collaterals. We're creating new strategies. We're manualizing. Then sabi ko later, who knows, we'll go ISO. Mga ganong bagay. Something they can do at home, they can be productive about. Kasi akala lang natin lagi ang productivity is on producing the products or service. In that level, I think we have to really shift our language of productivity and our definition of productivity from producing the product and service to learning and preparing for the future. Like in my case, my reviewers now become authors and they're learning to be authors. They're learning to be people in front of cameras now because they're producing learning resources, visual learning resources. So they become their next level. My resorts people are manualizing what they do. They're creating scripts. You know, they're putting together documents. They're making inventory. They're developing a lot of things so that after all of this, we will be ready to be better. I think that's the point. Kaya lang yun ang namimiss ng iba. Akala nila bakasyon, wala silang gustong gawin. Ako, I make sure that their productivity is measured not using the same yardstick that we used before, but we're using measures that would be testing not their usual output, but their creativity, their self-reliance, you know, because, you know, when you want the best creativity in people, make them do the impossible. That's my philosophy. So today, I'm challenging all my people in this crisis. I have challenged all my people. How creative could you be? How resourceful could you be? How productive could you be? Not using the old yardstick that I used to measure them, because I cannot improve what I cannot measure. But there's no measure for this situation. And then, you know what I realized very heavily here? I realized that really a lot of work can be done at home. And to eat the traffic, because sometimes we feel good that we can see our people working. Then I realized that my artists now can do more arts than before, more layouts than before. My web developer is more productive now. You know, my editors are more productive now because call them 11 o'clock in the evening, they answer. Unlike before, call them 11 o'clock in the evening, they're still on the road. So what did we realize here? What we used to believe as impossible, which is making some parts of the work done at home so that our people will have more time with the family, so that our streets will have less people moving, and so that the cost of transportation becomes less on their part. Who among us really consider that 20% of your salary given to your people are only going to the transportation cost, and the 30% of their time is on transportation time. But imagine if we can do some of these works at home, because we've proven it done here in this crisis. I think we've learned so much on how the future should be run, considering the technology that we have. Okay, so that's my point. All right. Any other comment? Any comment about that? Any other interaction? Yeah, very nice. I'm happy with what's happening. Are you happy that we're here, the panelists?
Of course.
Are we happy that we're doing this? Yeah, Ronel, are you happy? Where is our coffee? Where's our Faron Cafe now, Ronel? Yeah.
Soon.
Yeah. Doc Carl, I also want to share that a lot of our members from the Philippine Franchise Association have their own donation drives also that have been going on since day one, and that call has been continuous. And it's also very good to consider to, start being generous at this moment where, also your people will be happy to see you, even if you are also, in difficulty and your people knows it, but you still can extend your hands to your community.
Yeah, very nice. Your heart is
Yeah, kami we've distributed yung mga hygiene kits. Pero yun nga, because it's also a challenge to uh, cross pass the checkpoints. So mas maganda within immediate locality mo.
Yeah, great. Yeah, you know, people don't remember what we say or do. They always remember what we make them feel.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, let's make them feel, you know, valued and cared for and, you know, challenged, productive somehow. Because, you know, no matter what you say, no matter what you do, with all these limitations, there's nothing much. But I think there's a lot that we can make them feel. I think it's the call of the times to really look into what's inside us, the core values, no? The reason for our
Yes.
being. This is also our time to go to our core values. Are we really relevant in terms of the core value we have as a company? Are we here only to make money? That's the question, no? So are we really here to produce products and services, or are we here for a greater purpose? I think this is an opportunity for us to have a reflection along that line. Yep. So anyone else who would like to say something? I'm looking for Ma'am Bing Limhoko. She's off line now. I have included her in the panel. Yeah. And
Baka may mga questions tayo.
baka may mga questions pa. Yung iba nasagot na actually. May mga pumapasok na tanong like, meron ba daw goodwill fee pa rin sa franchisors kung close yung store? Ang sagot natin dito, di ba, is it's a matter of transaction and negotiation. Makipag-usap pa.
Yes.
Let's find a win-win. Yan, mga ganon. Okay. Anyone else who would like to say something? And thank you for staying, ha? Really, ang gaganda ng profile ng participants natin. I know you. They're big-time business people and they're here with us. Gusto ko silang batiin lahat. Kaya lang pag binati akong isa, tapos may na-miss tayong isa, magtatampo yon, di ba? Sige.
Yes.
Pwede bumati yung... Tayo, may privilege tayong bumati. Sinong gusto mong batiin, Ronel? I'm sure, kilala ko gusto mong batiin.
Siyempre, yung wife ko, si Farwa, and also yung mga kaklase ko sa AIM, binabati ko lahat sila. All of them are entreps.
Good. All right. So, anyone else? May mga gustong, parang batian portion to, ha? Parang nasa show talaga tayo. O, when is the next? No? I'll put you on the spot kasi may mga messages dito. When is the next? Thank you for this. Sabi nilang ganon. So,
yeah, hopefully, no, we can already get on board our speakers for next week. It's still Women's Month time, Doc Carl.
Yeah. So we can have we can expect a Women's Month celebration in this platform.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, Ma'am Bing is with us under Charito Estrada, but nawawala yung video. Yeah, anyone else who would like final shot? Jerome, final shot.
Yes, maybe just in summary of what we were just trying to say. This is it's a survival mode environment, but we need to we need to take care of our people, and we need to look forward to the future. The shorter we want to flatten the curve, the shorter this all comes to an end, the more we can go back to business as usual, and we have an obligation to be here for the business owners have an obligation to be around for their employees.
Yeah.
So they have something to go back to.
Okay. Yes. Final shot, Ronel.
Last dun sa mga entreps, we should be a data-driven company because, di ba, the new oil today is data. So if you have your data intact, so you can easily communicate with your customers, your partners, your stakeholders right now. So yan, basta after this crisis, you go for some sort of a fintech company. And a data-driven company.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. What about Carol? Carol, may we have your final shot?
Yeah. For I think if we will just have an open communication with your people, so like us, you can have one ship, a skeletal force, to continue the business in times like this.
All right. Creativity to continue. Yeah. May I have Alice, please? Debbie first. Debbie Rodolfo, please. Your final shot.
I think I'd like to talk about relationships. So just the importance of it. So as they say, relationships are tested by challenges. So now is, I think, a great opportunity for franchisors and franchisees to build and develop that relationship.
All right. Thank you very much. And Alice? Yes, Alice. Yeah, wait, Alice, you're off. Teka ha, I'll unmute you. Okay, go ahead, Alice.
Okay, so for me, my parting shot is just take care of your employees. Make sure everybody is well provided, or at least provided for the basic necessities. Now is not the time to make cuenta. Number two, take care of communicating to your franchisees or to your franchisors or to your landlords or to your tenants. Just talk. Number three is to prepare for the bounce back. You just have to make sure you have access to funding. So plan for that now this early.
All right. And our final shot of our president, PFA President Chef Quintana. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, aside from the sharing in terms of relating and communicating with the people around us, is also probably this is a good time to check in terms of our SWOT analysis. So we can probably have our inventory of our strengths and weaknesses as an entrepreneur, as an enterprise, so that we know how to cope with this and then to move forward when we all are ready. And a lot of people are worried, but looking forward, everything that we've put into being an entrepreneur will not be put into waste. So this is the best time, in fact, for all of us to put it, part of our moral ascendancy, to rise beyond our own weaknesses and strive to be better entrepreneurs, and to strive having the strength to work together, trust one another as a Filipino people.
Very
Thank
nice.
you.
Very well said. Ayan. And finally, may we have the mother of Philippine franchising to close this conference. Ma'am Bing Lim Hoco, please, we want to hear from you.
Good afternoon. First, I would like to congratulate the team headed by Carl, She, Rich, Ronald, Jerome, Alice, Carol, Debbie, Chris, and of course our secretariat has really who did everything for it to be successful in such a short period of time. Then I also would like to thank you all, because it brings back to us where we are now, okay? That the people are very important, and what should we do? Of course, with the different issues, there was this SecMon to help us out, and also PA Joey has been helping us out. Now, one of the last is, how do we bounce back if we do not have funding? On this side, of course, we know the 3P of TI, okay, how to access there for micro, but I also sent to Richard and She the details of the ADB loan for private sector amidst this COVID-19. It helps also the micro, and maybe, well, it is for industry, agriculture, 4 sections, okay? I think this is something that the loan is quite big in terms of dollars, and maybe this is something we have to look up to, because they know that this has happened to China, to Singapore and all, and how do we bounce back? Okay, so we have to see how to tie us down to where we are going, because now we have to rethink, right, where we are going now. As you said, go back to our SWOT and see what are our strengths and weaknesses. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Ma'am. Ma'am B,
Okay.
go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just hope maybe the others can really tie it over for another month or two or some, but really I saw the questions of the micro and small businesses that are just starting, and really they get it from their daily sales. But since they don't have the daily sales in how many stores all over Luzon, it's really they're really bleeding right now, and they're asking how can we help them. So aside from thinking out of the box for everybody, so what else can they do? Can they sell online and all? Of course, that's one. Now everything is online, so do that. But what would they need aside from that? Maybe the loans that are being offered can help us. And with this, I would like to end with saying one step backward, but two steps forward. I think this is a realization of us going back to basic, because we are in it now. We would like to think, how can we bounce back the fastest way we can? And that will be our two steps forward. We have many online seminars. Tomorrow, we are also going to have one, the Singapore experience, and others. And why not listen to all of this? We have the time, and let's assimilate this and see which of them can really help us. So to all of us, of course, we must have trust in our Lord. He would not give this to us if we don't know how to go over it.
Thank
So
you.
to all of us, let's pray and work harder.
Yeah.
Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much. Very, very motherly indeed. Huwag muna kayo umalis because we would like to make some announcements. First of all, I'd like to thank all who have served as panel today. Jerome, Ronel, Alice, She, Debbie, and Carol. And to the people behind this conference, we would like you to stay. You know why? Because we want to hear from you. Can you chat right now some topics that you may want to listen to in the future? Okay, I have proposed financial literacy for our people. Then in the future, maybe it's not us watching, but our people watching, so that they can learn to prepare for the future. Maybe there are issues of mental health. There are issues of technology availability, and so on. So we would like to take this time to document your message through the chat as to the other programs that you want to be in this ikapihan, that we commit to do some more in the future, and just stand by through the FB of PFA and Viber groups, etc. You will have to be informed about this. And we would like also to inform everyone that this conference is being recorded so that it can be extracted and as to the lessons that it can give us, all the information, all the models, all the sharings. It will not just go in middle air, but it will be something documented for the purpose of future use. And finally, my final shot is this. There are two characteristics of humanity that will never be replaced by AI or technology. Only two. Number one is empathy. Empathy means you feel what other people are feeling and you still are objective about it. So it's a level, it's not sympathy, but it's empathy. It's a matured way of feeling what other people feel. And the second is stewardship. Stewardship. I think if we combine the two, empathy and stewardship, I think humanity will be more successful in fighting the COVID-19. We just have to always feel what others feel, put ourselves in the shoes of another, and yet become objective all about it. And we always have to remember that we take care of each other because we are stewards. And ladies and gentlemen, take care of today. Tomorrow will take care of itself. God bless all of you. This has been Carl Balita. God bless PFA. God bless the entrepreneurs. God bless the Philippines. God bless the Filipinos, especially the health workers, the frontline workers, and God bless the world. Thank you very much for joining us today. Maraming salamat.